Hi everyone, welcome to Christmas cake making. Today, I know it's November, I know we haven't quite got past bonfire night, but to make a really good Christmas cake, you want to make it in advance so that you can feed it. So that's what we're doing today. Do drop me a message in the comments box. Tell me who's with us today, who's baking, who's watching. It doesn't take too long to make, but it takes quite a while to bake. So if you need to pop out and you don't quite have the time, you're going to need a few hours, 4 hours of baking. So if you don't have that time, grab a cup of tea and then come back and watch this on Virtual Village Hall when you do have a moment. But it's quite nice to have the smell kind of wafting in the background as you kind of, I don't know, maybe working from home or getting on top of the washing, whatever you're doing today. So to start with, there is a bit of prep, I'm afraid, but we're going to make an 8-inch Christmas cake. So if you are doing smaller, you are welcome to. You're just going to have to adjust. Well, the ingredients, you won't need quite as much, but it's more your cooking time. You'll have to drop off a little bit. So if you're making a different size, please let me know. But I have an 8-inch tin, which I don't know if you can see the sheen, but I've already greased that. So I've just got some margarine on my pastry brush and I've given that a really good on the sides and on the base, and I've given that a really good grease. And then inside of that, normally when we make a cake, we do one, but I'm doing double of everything today because because of the long time that we're baking this, we want to make sure that it's a bit protected. So I've got 2 bases. Before I put that in, I've also got a strip of baking paper, or parchment paper rather. And I don't know if you can see, but down one end I have feathered. Now the reason I have feathered it is about 1 centimetre, is that I'm going to add this first, and the feathered bit should sit around the base of the tin, and then my circular bits will sit on top of that. So it's really nice and looked after. Right, so I'm just going to make that into a rough circle. I'm trying to do it so you can see it, and add it to my tin. It's a bit fiddly, this bit, but bear with it. But try and push. I'll show you a picture in a minute, or on screen, once I've got there a bit. Just wiggle it down a bit. Don't worry if they don't all quite fit, but you just get the measure of it. There we go. I'll show you. So I'm happy I've got a circle and not an odd shape. So I'm just going to roll my hand around the inside to make sure I've got a nice circle. And then if you can see I've got I'm awful at facing this the right way. I've got the feathered bits sitting at the base, which is exactly right. And this is sitting quite a bit taller than my tin. You don't have to have it quite as tall, but it just offers the cake a bit of protection whilst it cooks. And then on top of that, I've got my circular pieces, which I'm going to place in the bottom. Like so. There we go. So that tin, on the inside at least, is nice and ready. Then on the outside, I know I haven't stopped yet, but on the outside, I've got some more parchment paper. You could also use newspaper for this part, and you want to just wrap it around, like a blanket almost, around the outside, and then tie it with a bit of string. I've got my Christmas string today, just for the occasion. So if you've just started watching, and you think, goodness me, that's a lot to do. That's not what I was prepared for. Don't worry, just watch and then come back to it. Once you've got all the equipment, I'm just get my scissors. Once you've got all the equipment, it's not too difficult. I did this in a few minutes. It didn't take me too long. So I'll try and do this so I'm facing you actually. So I'm just going to get my string and I'm going to wrap it round and just tie it as best I can just to keep it in place. There we go. So we've now got the inside covered and the outside covered. And then I will be sitting that on a tray, and I've got some newspaper on the base of the tray just to catch any of the grease that might come out of the tin. So that will sit on there, and that is the tin ready for the mixture. So everything is like double lined. Just if you're not sure, just add a bit more. So what you've come here for really is how we're going to make this. So first of all, I've got a load of dried fruit here. Now you can make this your own. Actually, I better give you the oven temperatures as well whilst I think about it. Your oven temperatures, if you're doing this now, are 140 degrees Celsius for fan, 150 degrees Celsius for conventional or gas mark 2. So if you want to get your oven on, you're welcome. Mine's just come up to temperature. And then our ovens will be preheated for when we put the mixture in. Right, so fruit-wise, I've got some sultanas, some cherries, and some mixed fruit. I've got 150 of the Glace cherries, which they're halved. I've just bought them halved because it was a bit easier. And then I've washed them and dried them, so they haven't got the same stickiness to them. And then sultanas, I've got 425 grams, and the mixed fruit, I've got 500 grams. Now you can get as inventive as you like here, as long as the quantities are the same. So we're looking at about, gosh, my maths, what is that, about a kilo? About a bit more than a kilo, 1 kilo and 75 grams. If you've got that kind of quantity, a kilo would do, to be honest, but just over that, you can add nuts to it if you want. You can do dates, you can do cranberries. If you want to go tropical, you could use dried pineapple, whatever you like, just stay to that kind of quantities. So I'm going to add my 150 Glace cherries to the bowl. So I've got two size bowls today. I don't know if you noticed the size difference. I'm putting my fruit into the regular size, and then I've got this ginormous one, which I'm going to put everything, like all the rest of it into. If you don't have a ginormous bowl, I have known people use a very clean wash bowl or a big pan, like you've got a stock pot. So now I've got my 425 grams of sultanas. So I'm adding those to the cherries. There we go. And lastly, I have my mixed fruit, which is 500 grams. As I said, feel free to use whatever you'd like. There we go. Move those out of the way. So I've got just a ginormous bowl of fruit. Now I'm going to add 300 grams of plain flour to my fruit mix. There we go. So that's plain flour. You don't need self-raising for this. And then to make it very Christmassy, we're going to add some mixed spice. You probably don't have one this size, but we use it a lot. So just a regular pot. Oh, let's get a spoon. Just a couple of teaspoons. I'm going to use heaped teaspoons because I do like a mixed spice flavour to my cakes. If you don't have mixed spice, you can add ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon. There we go. And let's get a spoon. And we're going to give, I've just got a nice trusty wooden spoon, give that a mix up. Now, the reason we do this is because we want to coat the fruit with flour, and that should help stop it from sinking to the bottom. It's quite a dense mix anyway, so hopefully that shouldn't happen. But just to make sure we've got a nice even amount of fruit through the cake, we're going to coat it in the flour. So just make sure you get all the way to the bottom. Give it a nice stir up. There we go. You can see. If you do have any questions, do feel free to drop me a comment. Right, big bowl time. It's excessive for what we're going to put in it to begin with, but we're going to put all the fruit in as well. So we just need a slightly bigger bowl. Right. So in this bowl, I'm going for 275 grams of butter. So this is just an unsalted butter. I don't tend to buy salted unless I was going to put it straight onto toast or sandwich. So 275 grams of butter. Just scrape that out. Make sure we're using it all. There we go. Do you not soak the fruit in brandy? No, I don't. And I know you can, but I don't. But feel free if that's what you want to do, or if you've had it soaked for a while. I do sometimes I make Christmas cupcakes, and I do with that. But this, I add it gradually once the cake is baked. So I've got 275 grams of butter in there. And then I'm going to add 150 grams of caster sugar. You're welcome. And 125 of brown sugar. Now, caster sugar helps to combine everything. Brown sugar adds moisture. Good morning, Irene. There we go. So all you need to do is mix the butter and the two sugars together. So that's it in my bowl. We're going to give that a good mix together. So if you've just joined us, mostly you have missed out on the preparation of a soft brown sugar, yeah. You've missed out on the preparation of our tin, which you can do at the end anyway. But I've just gone through. You really want to make sure that your tin, it's an 8-inch this, is covered in parchment on the inside. Do double and on the outside as well, around the tin. So just to clarify on the sugars, I've added 150 grams of caster sugar and 125 of soft brown sugar. You could do dark brown if you wanted to. It all adds to the flavour, something a little bit more caramelised, spiced, and the moistness of the cake. There we go. So who does add nuts to a Christmas cake? I don't, because my family aren't a massive, well, the kids just don't do nuts. But of course you can. Actually, my husband doesn't really either. It's just me. There we go. So nicely creamed together. And then I'm going to add 5 eggs. These are just medium eggs. I don't tend to get too hung up on the size of eggs unless you're using something ginormous. So 5 medium eggs. Oh, Boo does. They use what's the word? Nuts. Yeah. What do you use? Bit of do you toast them first? Some toasted almonds. There we go. I'm just cracking all these eggs into my mixture. 4 Brazil, almond and pecan. Yummy. I quite fancy doing a bit of a tropical Christmas cake, but maybe that's my need to go on a holiday. But I quite fancy doing one with a rum-based soak and some dried pineapple and toasted coconut in it. But that might be a bit too out there for my lot. But maybe I'll make a little one just for me. Right, so I'm just going to mix those eggs into the mixture. I fancy the idea of pineapple. Yeah, I think that would work really nicely. There we go. So without tipping it onto the work surface, you can see I've got a nice gloopy mess in there now. Now, if it has curdled slightly, don't worry, because the flour from the fruit is going to sort that out for us. Now, scrape that down. There we go. Now we're going to add, we've got the, I'll recap, we've got 275 grams of butter, 150 grams of caster sugar, 125 grams of soft brown sugar, and then 5 eggs. And that's our kind of wet mix. What does it? Subtitles say you have a bloopy mess. No, hopefully not blue. If you've got blue, you've got problems. Can you use almond flour instead of plain flour, says Caroline? Yeah, I can't see why not. I'm sure that will be absolutely fine to use. So I'm now tipping in all the fruits and the flour, and I've got the mixed spice in that too, into your mix. This doesn't rely on like a big rise or anything like that, so it's quite good for using alternatives in this cake. So you want to combine all that fruit and the flour into your mix, and I'm going to give you another option now, and that is if you want to use Black Treacle. Now this will darken your mix and add just a bit more richness. So gosh, this is brand new, so I haven't even opened it. I do like doing this, and I would say a really good sized tablespoon is good. But you don't need to do this. It's what you like. Now to make number 2. Excellent. Yeah, I need to make a few of these actually. So, and I do like having a few things done ahead. I mean, it helps to have the Christmas cake done so we can keep feeding it. Sorry, I keep leaning over because I've got so much things around me. My utensils are a bit further over. Yeah, I do like being ahead for Christmas and having a few things prepared in advance. Do you heat the tablespoon to make it easier? Well, that would be easier, Boo, and I think that is an excellent idea. But no, I wasn't that organised, and I didn't. But I do, I do some of these workshops from our page, and my mum occasionally comes in and sits down. And you know what? She got me to do that with golden syrup. So excellent bit of advice there. Yes, heat the spoon if you want a bit of a less mess. So that, I haven't put the Black Treacle in yet. That's my mixture all combined. And then I'm going to add a good tablespoon of the Black Treacle. And I'll have to scrape mine down because it's not going to fall off without the heat. There we go. There we go. Not too bad, not too messy. And then just stir that in. I have to stand up for this now because it's got that bit more stodgy. There we go. Needs a bit more elbow grease. So I'm going to be headless for a minute. Tell you what, I will put that up. Recipe looks fab. Have to dash. May rejoin later. You're very welcome. I hope you enjoy making it. And Suzanne's put, every year I buy treacle and the cake is the only thing I use it for. Any suggestions for treacle? You know what? I'm probably the same. I think you can make like toffees and things with Black Treacle as well, can't you? But not that I use it a lot. I really want to make a Christmas cake, but I worry it won't turn out very well. I'll have a, yeah, do. Oh, sorry, you can see my mum in the background there in the cupboards.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. Get myself a dog treat.
Oh, I hope you're not eating the dog treat. Bear with me, I'm just going to shut that door. There we go. There, so you can see it started to go quite a bit darker now. Yeah, do have a go with this. This is a tried and tested recipe. We did it on our page last year with our followers. with great success, and a lot of people that have never made a fruitcake before, and they loved it. So definitely a good one to try. Right, I'm going to bring down the screen a bit. So there's the tin. So if you didn't quite catch the start, this is, you've got a lining inside, which is double lines. You've got a lining at the base, that's 2 lots. And then I've wrapped some more around the outside. You can use newspaper on the outside if you prefer. And then, I'll have to bring it down again. You want to tip your mixture into the tin or spoon it in. It's really thick, guys. Can you see that? Really thick. Now, some bits of advice for when you spread it into your tin is make sure that you have a little bit of a dip in the middle, because cakes tend to rise more if they're going to in the middle. And when you make a sponge cake, you can easily cut that bit off. It's not such a problem, but it's a bit of a nightmare with a fruit cake to try and carve it or cut a little bit off. So what you do is you make a tiny little well in the middle, just a little, just shallow, so that as it rises, it should level off with the sides of the cake. So I'm just going to scrape that off, and then I will level it out. And then I can hopefully try and show you without tipping it all out. It is quite a deep cake, this one. It's quite impressive looking. So if you were to make this into 2 smaller cakes, say, you will want to adjust the time you cook. I would recommend 3.5 to 4 hours for this cake. If you're going to make smaller, you probably want about 3 hours, maybe even 2.5. You'll have to check it. Right. Can you see that? I don't know if you can catch that I've made a little well in the middle. Not much, just a slight dip, just so it can rise up and it levels itself out. So that goes into your oven and bakes for around 3.5 to 4 hours. Now, obviously, you've got lots of fruit on the top of this. So second tip for getting it right, give it a couple of hours. It should be fine in that. Make sure your temperature is correct. And then after a couple of hours, you might think, I'm a bit worried about that fruit on top. You've now browned it enough that you could, it's a little bit of parchment paper, cut it either in a circle, or to be honest, I just go for a square, and you can push it gently, so it's not touching the cake, but it's just covering the top, and push it gently there on the top so that it's covering it. Sorry guys, let me just cancel that. Just so that it doesn't burn. The last thing you want is to have burnt sultanas and things on top. That's not nice. So that's a really good way of making sure that it, there we go, cancel that, that it doesn't burn. So I would certainly do that, but not straight away. Let it brown, let it bake for a bit. And then if you're worried, you could go and use a bit of parchment and cover the top. Then once it's out, you want to get a skewer, a wooden one or a metal one, get a skewer and poke it plenty of times. And then you can get your brandy. You don't have to use brandy. You could use whiskey, Cointreau, rum, whatever you like. And just do a few tablespoons over the top. Then leave it completely to cool. Then what I do is I get a dinner plate and I put a few more tablespoons of brandy on the dinner plate, and then I turn the cake upside down and I leave it to soak it all up. So I take it out of all so I leave it to cool in all the tin. When it's completely and utterly cool, so I'll go through this again, but when it's completely cool, I take it out and then I turn the cake upside down and let it soak up the brandy from off the dinner plate. Once it's done that, I tend to wrap it up. I use some brand new parchment paper and wrap it up like a present. And then I cling film it and I wrap it up tight. And then every couple of weeks, I get it out and add a bit more brandy to it. I wouldn't do it just before you decorate. I'll give it a couple of weeks before, at least a week. But you could feed it every couple of weeks leading up to Christmas before you decorate. So I'm going to go through that again. You're going to put it in the oven now at about 140 degrees Celsius for fan, 150 for conventional or gas mark 2. Cook it for about 3.5 to 4 hours. And then if you're worried about it burning on top, after a couple of hours, get a bit of parchment and just cover it so it stops those bits of fruit on top from burning. Once it's had its right amount of time, if you're worried about if it's ready, you can poke it and see if it comes out clean. It should do. After 4 hours, you shouldn't need to leave it in any longer. But then poke it and add a few tablespoons of your chosen alcohol. I've got brandy here. And then leave it to cool. Leave it in the tin and just leave it to cool. It will take quite a while. There's a lot of fruit in there. Once it's cooled down, remove all the tin, so you've just got your bare cake, and then I put a bit more alcohol onto a dinner plate, a few more tablespoons, and then I get my cake and I turn it upside down so the top is now on the bottom of the plate and let it soak up that alcohol. Once it's done that, I tend to wrap it up in some parchment and then cling film. You could use some foil if you prefer, and let it keep until Christmas, and then get it out every couple of weeks and give it a bit of a feed with your brandy or whatever you've chosen. And then, yeah, don't feed it just before you decorate it. Give it at least a week, if not 2. And then you can decorate this cake. I would always recommend a marzipan, which acts as a very good barrier. You don't need to use loads, but a marzipan's always good. And then a fondant, nice clean looking cake. Perhaps we could do another workshop decorating Christmas cakes nearer the day. But all you need to do for now is just get this in the oven and get it ready. That's all you need to do. And it smells amazing. Your house is going to smell lovely whilst this is baking. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. More than happy to help. But as I said, it is a very tried and tested recipe with great results. And it does last. So if you have made it and then for whatever reason you forget about it, it'll be fine next year too, as long as you keep it nicely sealed and you can keep feeding it. So have we got any questions? I'm going to check the comments. But that is it. I tell you what, I could actually put this in the oven, couldn't I? So that's the mixture. There we go. And then I'm going to put this in my oven. Middle shelf is always best. And then you need to put it on for 3.5 to 4 hours and enjoy. It's really, really lovely thing to do. And then we can enjoy decorating it near a Christmas day. I wouldn't decorate it before particularly. Right, guys, that is it. That is me done. Thank you very much for joining me. For those that have watched, you can go and watch and repeat on Virtual Village Hall, and it will be pre-recorded. It will be recorded for you to come back to. Lovely. Right, I will leave you to your day. Enjoy, everyone. Bye.